Worship of self is the greatest disturber of the soul's peace. Thomas Brooks said, pride manifests itself in several ways. Self-importance, self-righteousness, self-promotion, self-centeredness, self-reliance, self-pity, self-attention, self-assurance, self-absorbed, self-preoccupied, self-opinionated, self-obsessed, self-governing, self-seeking, self-willed. You could go on. But you see, you can't worship God and seek the worship of self at the same time. You can't have an attitude of arrogance and be surrendered to God. You either have one or the other. And when we are self-preoccupied and we are lifting ourselves up, we are moving away from God and we are not surrendering ourselves to Him. That's why in the Sermon on the Mount, the first beatitude is, blessed are the poor in spirit. A classic example of pride in the Bible is the king Nebuchadnezzar. I don't know how you pronounce that name, this part of the world, but just here to tell you, it's Nebuchadnezzar. In Daniel chapter 3 and 4, Daniel warns Nebuchadnezzar, tells him, the Lord warns Nebuchadnezzar through Daniel, that if he doesn't humble himself and continues with his pride and arrogance, the Lord is going to visit him in judgment and humble him. And you'd like to think after receiving such a warning, he would actually heed it. But no, in chapter 4, Nebuchadnezzar is walking on top of his palace and he sees the vastness of his kingdom. And he's filled with pride and starts boasting about how great he is and how great his kingdom is because it's so vast. And at that moment, the Lord struck him. And he lived for 7 years like an animal and with the animals. It's pride. But you see, a humble heart also knows its limits. So David says, I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. In other words, he's saying, I know my limits. I know who I am. I know what I can do. And it isn't much. But I also know who God is. And I know what God can do. So there are issues and there are matters that I know are out of my control. And it's a lot of matters and it's a lot of issues. But I don't concern myself with them. I trust them with the Lord. We are often eager to show people how much we know and how capable we are. You know, such that when you ask people, what are your weaknesses? Well, my weaknesses are my strengths. Because we are so eager to show how much we know. And now, with AI, we think we are invisible. We know everything. But David says, I know there are things too great, and there are things just beyond my comprehension and beyond my control, and I'm okay with it. See, you and I are God's children. And we live in God's world. And He is the one who knows all things, in control of all things. We don't always want to act like children, but we need to constantly remind ourselves that we are children. I mean, when was the last time you heard a toddler concerned about the price of food, or the price of fuel, or inflation, or the state of the economy? They don't care. All a toddler knows is, I am a child, and I have a father, I have a mother. When I'm hungry, I tell them, they give me food. That's all. What the price of bread is, where the money is going to come from, that's your business as the father. All I know as a child is, I'm hungry. Give me food. And what a privilege it is to be a child. How freeing it is to be a child. And if children who have earthly parents with limitations have learned to not worry and to not be anxious and not concern themselves and preoccupy themselves with things that fathers and mothers should preoccupy themselves with, how much more should you and I, who are children to the Almighty Father, the God who owns the whole world and holds the whole world in His hands, the God who is loving and wise and faithful. David, aware of that truth, says, I do not concern myself with things too great for me. There's a sense in which that's liberating. To know there are things beyond your control. There are things outside your jurisdiction, and that's okay. It's so liberating to know you don't know, and that's okay. I don't know is the most freeing answer in the world. What's tomorrow going to look like? I don't know. I don't know. I can think, I can plan, but really, I don't know. I mean, hey, I don't even know if I'll be there tomorrow. But I know someone who knows. And I trust Him.